Welcome into Citizen Sports Talk. Caden Reinhardt here with Jacob Smith. We're finally back into that winter semester, first full week of classes back, and that brings us another full week of VHSL basketball games starting on Monday. You want to get us going, Jacob?
Absolutely, Caden. I had the pleasure to go down to Carroll County to call another lovely game. It was an exciting one. The JV started off strong. It was a close win there for the Carroll County girls JV, but the game of the night has to be the varsity game, of course. Carroll County was up by 8 to start the fourth quarter, 35-27. Cave Spring would go on to outscore the Lady Cavaliers by 15 in the fourth quarter to get their fourth win of the season. And Callie Harris stood out to me for the Lady Cavaliers, even though a loss. She had about 15 points in the second half alone. She was held scoreless in the first half, couldn't really get going, but it was just a complete team win for Cave Spring on Monday night. And, coming back the way they did, you got to give them the credit where it's due.
I mean, definitely so. I mean, when you have to play for, 32 minutes straight, it's what it takes, 32 minutes of action. I think you hit the nail on the head on the coffin right there with Callie Harris. I mean, she's kind of been in and out of the starting lineup this year. The first game I was able to cover for them, their first tournament game against Mount Airy, she wasn't in that lineup. A couple days later against Grayson, she made the starting lineup, and I think she had, I want to say, well over 15 points in that game as well. So she's been having a great year.
Yeah, definitely. Again, the strong second half. Just really couldn't get going. She was one of the starting five for the Lady Cavaliers Monday night, but just a slow start for her and a strong finish on the board. But probably the worst part about that loss for Carroll County, yes, you did kind of blow almost a double-digit lead, and get outscored by 15 points. But the worst part about it was probably the fact that they had less than 24 hours to get ready to go to play in Floyd County, travel to a district rival, and that seemed a little bit too much of a difficult task for them. Floyd County was able to get their fourth straight win at the time, 53-24, in what was a pretty solid win for the Lady Buffs. Natalie Morris had a strong performance. She had 21 points, and outside of that, very little scoring. Outside of that, it's a low-scoring game. A couple of other players did have impacts on the board, but a pretty shallow night in the scoring pool for the Lady Buffs. And despite not getting a whole lot going for the Lady Cavaliers, they definitely had scoring opportunities with all their players. Only one player on the roster didn't score a point on Tuesday. But talking about the other game from Tuesday, Aiden Cox went down to Carroll County to cover the Buffaloes Cavaliers game. Floyd County was coming off a loss in Martinsville. Carroll County was coming off a loss at home to Pulaski. Both teams trying to redeem themselves. Floyd County, again, we talked about last week, their first loss of the season was in Martinsville, and both teams were trying to avoid losing 2 in a row. You never like those losing streaks developing in the middle of the season, but a pretty one-sided game. Carroll County actually only had 2 points in the first quarter in that one, but Aiden Cox was able to talk with Coach Harman after the 72-44 win in Hillsville.
Aiden Cox here with Coach Brian Harman after the Buffaloes' good win, 72-44 here at Carroll County. Coach, congratulations on the win. What did you like most about how your team responded after the tough loss at Martinsville?
Well, being the first loss of the year, just didn't know how they would come out. Carroll's been a tough place for us to play, too, over the years. So I just didn't really know. I was excited to see the opportunity because it's going to be hard for anybody to go undefeated. But to see the toughness, and especially on the defensive end, got our offense going again, back the way we'd been playing most of the year. But to do it on the road and do it here was a pretty special win for us.
You mentioned defensively. My next question is about the defense. Another good defensive outing for you guys, only allowing 44 points. How do you guys continue to keep that going?
Yeah, you know, they've got a really good player in Easter, and I mean, he's tough. He's a handful. Just really bought into guarding him and controlling that, and then closing out on the shooters and pulling the first board. It's pretty simple what we got to do. We can't do things that are out of our league. We just try to do the right things, be tough and physical, pull the first board, and it leads us into our offensive stuff.
Well, district play coming up. Obviously, now you've played 3 games. James River coming up on Friday. So what becomes most important for you guys as you get into the tough Three Rivers district matchups?
And just thankful to get back home Friday. We hadn't had but 3 home games, and it seems like we're on the road all the time. James River's coached very well. Ethan does an unbelievable job. So, you know, they'll run some scheme stuff that we're going to have to be ready to go against. But defensively, we've got to bring it every night because we're not good enough just to roll out there and get it done. But, you know, we got them, and Radford and Glenver ain't going to be no joke either. So, and then back through everybody again. I think that gets everybody now, and then back through everybody again. So we just got to continue to get better. We're finally getting, we got Sam out there tonight, Nico out there. So we're still just trying to get back to 100% on our players. So tonight we got to see a little bit of that, and we'll hit it tomorrow morning again in practice and just keep trying to get better.
Well, I think that's all. Again, congratulations on the win, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Aiden, for traveling down to Carroll, talking with Coach Harman after the victory there, and, you know, staying in that swing of road games for Floyd. The following night, their girls traveled down to James River for their matchup against the Knights in Buchanan. They came away with a 58-38 victory, their 5th straight. You know, it was kind of a sketchy start to the season for head coach Ross Need entering back into the helm. You know, 1-4, kind of staring down the barrel of kind of a, you know, a shaky season. But they pulled out 5 straight now after that James River game, back to 6-4. So I mean, it's just a great turnaround. Almost just kind of like what we've seen in, you know, some of these games from the Buffaloes, just all around team play and just kind of hoisting them the victories there.
Yeah, so I know I talked about it a few weeks ago when we were at the Chance Harman Classic, Kaden. The big, and it's such a big, I hate to, you know, beat a dead horse over what he told me when I talked to him at the Chance Harman Classic. Being able to get that win in Rocky Mount against Franklin County, the confidence boost that gave this young team, its majority juniors, sophomores, and a couple of freshmen on the roster as well. Anytime you can build that confidence, it creates belief in the locker room, especially after the rough season that the varsity girls had last year, the Lady Buffs had last year. Being able to kind of flip the script a little bit and say, hey, we can do this, and show that the team is more capable of doing it, proving it to themselves. And again, the confidence builds game after game, it feels like. And we talked about last week, the overcoming the deficit in overtime, even in the fourth quarter to tie things up and send it to overtime. The adversity this team has overcome in the last couple weeks, and to finally pull out a game like that, it probably wasn't easy, but you know, you can't complain about winning, and winning 5 straight definitely has to feel nice for sure, especially going 4-0 in the district.
Can't complain about any of those. I mean, a 20-point victory on the road is already incredible enough, I'd say. And then I think also we had the three games today, if you want to get into those, Jacob.
Yeah, so talking about winning on the road, the Lady Cavaliers were trying to do that on Friday night in Radford. It's based on, obviously, I've never played in that building, but playing on the football field, it's a tough environment to play in. It's a hostile environment. Radford comes out and supports their Bobcats for sure. So the Lady Cavaliers weren't able to get the job done tonight. 67-53 was the final. The Lady Bobcats pulled that one out, and with Carroll, the Lady Cavaliers traveling to Radford, that meant the Bobcats traveled to Carroll, and they were able to take care of business. The Bobcats beat the Cavaliers 66-56. This was the Cavaliers' 3rd loss in a row. They lost at home versus Pulaski last Friday. They lost at home against Floyd on Tuesday, and now dropping this one to Radford. 2 of them being district opponents, and the other one a team that you beat by 20 earlier in the season, and Pulaski was able to flip the script there for the most part. Definitely some struggles there for the Cavaliers basketball now since they've hit district play. And talking about Carroll County, or the Cavaliers boys team losing 3 straight, I don't know if I mentioned it, but the Lady Cavaliers lost their 4th straight on Friday night as well.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, just kind of starting district play. I mean, I don't even think we're quite at the halfway point. We're breaching there. So, I mean, these seasons are still early. There's plenty of time to turn it around like we've seen with the Buffaloes. I mean, it's really just about building confidence. We've seen, the Carroll County girls, they've hung in these games. They've been right there, and then, just kind of these late, 4th quarter lulls like we've seen in the Cave Spring game. I'm not sure if that's exactly what happened in the Radford game, but it's just like, that confidence towards the end kind of seems to be drawn away.
Yeah, and you could say that's probably the opposite. Going back to the Lady Buffs, for example, having these close losses and then being able to flip that script with the Franklin County winning by 3 or winning a close game. And now it seems like every other game they have, they're winning by single digits and coming out with close wins. But again, we said it earlier, you can't complain about winning, and winning a lot of close games can create confidence that, in a close game, your team's never out of it. They have the fight. They have the ability to win it in those tight circumstances. So you kind of briefly mentioned it, but a lot of these close losses, just as much as the close wins, are very helpful to build that confidence so you can come up successful in these tight situations. A lot of close losses can kind of tear down that confidence as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But talking about a more different note, the Cavaliers weren't able to come out with a win, both boys and girls, on Friday, but the Floyd County Buffaloes at home, homecoming is also an important note there, trying to win their 2nd straight, trying again to redeem themselves over this Martinsville loss, even though they took care of business on Tuesday, trying to get a home win in front of their home crowd on homecoming. And Floyd County, it was a slow start. James River came out of the gate on a 4-0 run. They scored 2 baskets early. And after that, Floyd County outscored James River 54-20. And it was a really complete win for the Buffaloes. Only one player that was dressed tonight didn't score, and he didn't see any minutes. So being able to see this complete performance in the Buffaloes team, I talked to Coach Harman after the game. I'm sure we'll mention it once we come back. Just this team has been complete all year, it feels like. Different people have stepped up at different moments, but now it seems like they're all coming together. And tonight, for example, they're all finding opportunities to score, and it's very unselfish play.
Unselfish play wins basketball games. I mean, I don't think there's anything more to that. It just, the Knights offense just really kind of had a struggle tonight getting going, even kind of getting the ball past half court, I think.
Yeah, and when you have 4 players that scored in the game, and they only had, I believe, 3 field goals in the second half, a couple of free throws to add on to that, about 10 points in the second half. Definitely hurts the confidence maybe for James River. They actually played a close game against Radford earlier this week at home. So to come out and not necessarily lay an egg, but to show this sloppy and disappointing of a performance to end the week definitely will hurt, especially since they're now 0-4 in the Three Rivers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy box score to look at when you see the Buffaloes, like you said, all but one player that dressed up score, and then the complete contrast of the James River Knights only scoring 4, not even all 5 starters kind of got on the board. Just the ball distribution there for the Buffaloes, it's been a big thing that I've kind of noticed, leading with Chase and Harman at the point guard position. Noah Farley he's drawn back from his more the point guard role, you can say, and I think it's helped the Buffaloes tremendously.
Yeah. And me and Aiden have talked about it before. We've talked about it before. The presence inside that the Buffaloes had, it wasn't as strong tonight. Gavin Swartz will put up double figures again, but they didn't really have to work their way inside. Some of the shots were able to land without that inside presence that we have seen at times already this year. And again, it was just a complete win. And it's going to be tough for the Buffaloes now because they have 3 straight road games after tonight: at Radford on Tuesday, at Glenver on Friday, and then they're at Auburn on the 26th. So 3 difficult places to play, Kaden, and we'll hear Coach Harman talk about that here. I talked to Coach Harman after the victory, 54-24 from Floyd County.
Yep.
So first of all, Coach Harman, congrats on the win, 11th of the season. What does it say to get the win? Again, the second consecutive coming off the loss last week and being able to do it on homecoming.
Yeah, homecoming was nice. Getting back home again. I think this is our 4th. I keep talking about this, and I think it's our 4th home game of the year. And we just can't get in the rhythm of getting home game. And then the JV didn't get to play, so that was kind of disappointing on tonight. But you know, being able to play here, homecoming was special. I know I had 2 guys in the homecoming court. I don't think either one of them won. My last time out, I was asked, Isaiah, look, did you win? He said no. And Sam, did you win? No. And I was like, man, this thing had to be rigged. So. It was good. It was a great win for us. Defensively, we held them to 24 again. I think they made 2 or 3 shots the second half, and just really proud of the guys' effort. Got a lot of guys in tonight. Didn't look real fluid at times, but it's bad when you're upset about a 30-point win.
I know you talked with Aiden Tuesday about the 30-point win in Carroll County, being able to do the same thing at home tonight. How does that build momentum now, especially with 3 straight road games now at Radford, at Glenver, and at Auburn?
Wow, yeah. That's a tough stretch, man. You know, Radford's always a tough place to play. Radford's gaining some momentum, too. I think they're going to be 10-2 or 10-3 when we go over there on Tuesday. So I know they won at Carroll tonight. So they're tough, and they're definitely tough at home. Ben does a good job. And then, going to Glenver is always tough. I mean, they shoot a lot of threes, and if they're making threes, they're going to be a handful. They played Martinsville tough last night. Tied at half, had to lead after the first, and so they'll be ready to go. And then at Auburn, I mean, that's always we hadn't played them in a real game. It's always been benefit over the last couple of years, and they're playing really well too. So we'll have our hands full, but we just got to continue to get better. Practice hadn't been great the last couple of days. You're getting into that mid-season grind, and the guys got to find a way to get through it. But 2 big wins here. We'll try to get it done again on Tuesday at Radford.
Talking about some other teams in the district, what stood out for you so far the last couple weeks? Teams to watch out for, maybe in the district, in the region.
Yeah, well, definitely Martinsville. Martinsville's tough down there. They got to come here and play. They went on the road at Glenver and had a tough game. Beat Patrick pretty good. But all those guys can beat you. And second time through, I mean, Radford's seen us a lot of years, and we always tried to beat them, and now, they'll come to play. Glenver's always tough. Carroll's always tough too. We just got up on them, and they just didn't make shots the other night. And, they're making shots. It's a totally different game. But I think anybody in this district can beat anybody, and I think every time they walk out there, they want to beat you. So I know they want to come for us.
Last question, Coach. Talking about the overall team performance tonight, everybody but maybe 1 or 2 players for you tonight scored at some point tonight. They only had 4 guys score tonight. What does that say about your team's ability to distribute the ball, get movement, and find ways to get points on the board?
Yeah, I think that was built early on in this season, and the team that we've set up and practicing every day. Those guys deserve time out there to do the thing too. And we probably made our first run there with maybe only 2 or 3 starters in, and AJ got a good layup to get us going a little bit, to get us up 6-8 there in the second or third, or second quarter. But I think everybody scored except Nico. And Nico coming off sickness, he wasn't practiced the last 2 days, so he didn't play tonight. So everybody scored tonight, and it was anywhere from 2 to 11. So I like to see that. The guys encourage each other, and I'm just thankful. I'm thankful to see Sam back out there. I mean, I think Sam probably had 4 or 5 tonight, and he just brings a presence that means a lot to our team. So seeing all the guys excited for each other is fun, and when you can win by 30 and hold them to 24, it's a lot of positive there.
Congrats on the win, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here, man. Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot. Yes, sir.
Again, thanks, Coach Harman, for the time after another successful win to, again, recover. May not be the best way to put it, but to kind of put the Martinsville loss behind them, Kaden, and definitely have some more opportunities to do that as long with the other teams for the Cavaliers and Buffaloes, and I'm sure you have plenty more that you get to talk about what we have coming up next week.
Yeah, long week for both the Buffaloes and the Cavaliers. Both teams, they'll actually get days off on Monday, then scheduled action Tuesday through Friday. We'll start with the Buffaloes, though, on Tuesday, January the 20th. We'll start with the basketball quad for the girls. They'll be traveling they'll be hosting Radford. The boys will be traveling to Radford to take on the Bobcats there. Following day on Wednesday, girls varsity basketball, they'll be taking on Galax, and then the boys wrestling, they'll have a quad in Giles, heading up 460 for that matchup. On Thursday, the following day, JV girls basketball, only matchup on that day, they'll be taking on the William Byrd Terriers in Floyd, and then ending that week for the Buffaloes on the 23rd. A little bit of a weird matchup with the Glenver roster not having a JV girls team, so instead, girls, they'll play Eastmont here at home when the varsity team will play Glenver following that, and then the boys, they'll pretty much follow that. Should be quad, which they'll travel down 81 to take on the Highlanders in Glenver. That ends the week for the Buffaloes, and then on to the Cavaliers as well, starting on Tuesday. They start with a quad as well against Martinsville. Girls get to host Martinsville and Carroll. Boys get to travel down to Martinsville, and then as well the boys and girls varsity swim and dive teams, they'll be traveling to Northside for their matchups on Tuesday. And the following day on Wednesday, it'll be a Scholastic Bowl matchup in Glenver, as well as a Wrestling Girls Invitational Tournament in Franklin for them. On Thursday, boys JV and varsity basketball get some action. They get to host Galax, a little close matchup for them, just a couple minutes away. And then as well, the MAC team will be traveling down to Bland for their matchup, and then ending the Cavaliers week will be a kind of a split series against the James River Knights. The girls get to travel to James River, and then the boys will host the Knights in Carroll.
Yeah, again, it's cliche at this point. I say it every week, but an exciting week as always. We got a lot of games to cover, a lot of home games for the Lady Buffs, Buffaloes, and the Cavaliers, along with the Lady Cavaliers as well. But that'll be plenty of more for us to talk about next week, possibly, here on Citizen Sports Talk. But signing off for this week, Jacob Smith and Kaden Reinhardt, thank you for tuning in. Have a great rest of your weekend, ladies and gentlemen.